Dukes Nation, this is your home for all things Duquesne University athletics, whether it's basketball or football or soccer or lacrosse or volleyball, track and field, golf, swimming, you name it, everything in between. If it's happening at UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, Arthur J. Rooney Athletic Field, or anywhere our Dukes play, you're going to hear about it here. Hello and welcome, Dukes fans. You are looking at co-producer Rudy Longarini inside the worldwide headquarters and studios of All Dukes Sports Talk. I'm Bob Healy III, joined as always by Nick Frost, and we are uniting Dukes Nation for a conversation on all things Duquesne University athletics. So without further ado, let's get to it, and let's go Dukes! Hey Dukes Nation, welcome back to All Dukes Sports Talk. This is Bob Healy III as usual, and I'm joined once again by Nick Frost, also in Pittsburgh, and then our man Rudy Longarini out in California. We have a special guest this week. Heck, all of our guests seem to be special lately, but we got another former Duke for you, and he was a fan favorite. This guy was a 5-year player for the Dukes, if memory serves. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but Mr. Austin Rotroff joins us. He's back from a professional career that, well, we got some news to break if you hadn't heard. Austin is going to hang him up. So his first stop on his retirement tour is here for All Duke Sports Talk. Austin, thanks so much for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Happy to be here.
Austin, you were one of those guys who was on the Dukes when they sort of bottomed out during the Dambrot era there. That's no other way to really put it. And you stuck with the team. They bounced back, had a good season your last year. And then, of course, you were 1 year removed from the 2024 Atlantic 10 championship team. I would assume only fond memories from your time on the Bluff.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of ups and downs throughout the years. I kind of saw it all as far as success, and then obviously some not so successful time periods, and had a lot of teammates. But overall, yeah, very fond memories and a very special place for me.
Austin, before we get into this week in Duquesne athletics, you had a setback with a knee issue, is that right? And so you're done playing pro ball. Can you catch us up on where you've been since your time at Duquesne?
Yeah, so since Duquesne, I graduated in August of 2023, and I headed over to Luxembourg to begin my professional career. Shortly after I got there, I tore my ACL, which I had torn at Duquesne, so that was my second ACL in my left knee. And then I came back, decided I wanted to give it one more shot, spent a little bit of time rehabbing back in Ohio, and then this September, I headed to Ireland and was there for about 2 months, and then I tore the meniscus and cartilage in that knee once again. So yeah, decided to hang them up.
I,
Austin,
I,
you hail from Ohio. Tell us how you got to Duquesne, and what made you want to stick around. I guess you really believed in Keith.
Yeah, I really hadn't honestly heard of Duquesne before the coaching staff reached out to me. It wasn't something that was on my radar out here near Toledo, but I took a visit there and pretty much decided then that I loved Pittsburgh. I liked the coaching staff, great level of basketball. So pretty quickly after my visit, I decided that I wanted to get over to Duquesne.
Austin, we're going to get back to the rest of your Duke's career and where you're going to head after this. But one thing I want to point out is your team never did lose at LeBron James Arena, right? And so we're licking our chops in Duke's Nation from yesterday's loss there in Ohio, in your home state. If I'm not mistaken, right, and maybe Nick can correct me on this, that's the first time we've lost a game at LeBron James Arena. Am I right?
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
First
so
time
The
we
Dukes
had,
lost yesterday by a score 93 to 86 to Northeastern. That's not a game that was televised in any way. I got to hear Ray Goss's call on the radio. The great Ray Goss is keeping it going. Actually, with he might be a former teammate of yours, right, Austin? Noah Buono?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
Noah's doing color. You guys had to have crossed a couple years there, I think.
Yep, he was my teammate for 2 years and my roommate for one, close friend of mine. Great guy.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, Noah does a nice job. We're spoiled getting to hear Ray. Noah's filled in nicely for Jarrett Durham, who's no longer on the call, and Tad Mowry, who's no longer on the air as well. I thought Noah does a nice job. So I got to hear Ray's call. It was exciting. I turned it on as I was leaving the Duquesne Robert Morris football game. I was actually working that for Robert Morris, the old one of the old Duquesne SIDs, Ryan Gavatorta, who may have actually been there when Austin was there. Nick, I think, remembers Ryan Gavatorta. Ryan is now the an SID at Robert Morris, and so he hired me to do stats for them. So I got to watch the football game, and that went the way of the Dukes, but the day wasn't as successful for Duquesne. Duquesne football won that game on a walk-off field goal, 20-17. It was pretty fun, but the Dukes finished in second place in the NEC, one game behind Central Connecticut State, unfortunately. But I got to hear Ray Goss's call at the end. Sounds like the Dukes were right in it. Nick, I think you watched some of that game on the unofficial feed from Johnny Bluff blog on Twitter, right?
That's right. And man, that the production quality goes up every year with Johnny's annual stream of the game. So he brought a tripod out this time, and Jimmy Williams' father and Tyler Cronin from the Three Bid League pod were sitting next to him, and you could hear their commentary, mostly complaining about the refs as the game went on. So
Get out of town. I guess no one has like the video broadcast rights. I don't know. I don't suppose he's breaking any rules.
no, I think he actually checked before he bought the tripod this year to make sure he
How
wasn't
great is
breaking any
that?
rules.
Just so our fans know, I think he's just at Bluff Blog. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
that's our man Johnny. We've had Johnny on the podcast before. He's Duquesne super fan. I'm sure he'll be watching this episode. I mentioned Austin was a bit of a fan favorite. We love the guys that stick around. Austin, you were teammates with Dave Dixon. Dave, a fourth year player now. That's becoming exceedingly rare, isn't it? I mean, you were right there at the tail end of all this, when guys were transferring in and out. But, Dave Dixon sticking around for 4 years, does that surprise you at all? Is that just who Dave is?
I think that's just who Dave is, I appreciate him doing that. Certainly it's not common in this landscape of college basketball, but I'm really happy to see him sticking it out. I'm sure he had some opportunities elsewhere, but it's really encouraging to see guys just stick it out and really just finish it with the program and the people who invested in them at the beginning.
Yeah, the Dukes had their chances late, just could not get a ball in their possession late where they could have had a field goal to tie or take the lead. John Hughley was at the line. I think we were down two or three, if I recall, and he
Three, I
missed
think
both.
three, yeah.
We're
Yeah.
down three then. Yeah, Hughley missed both shots. And that was kind of it. And John's actually been pretty good shooting the ball. Did you have a chance to play against him at all, Austin, when John was at Pitt?
I never in an official game, we occasionally in the summer went up to the Pete and played open gym with those guys. So I did play open gym with him one time. And yeah, he's a load in there. He's hard to guard for sure.
Rudy, I don't suppose you got to see any of this game. You might have just listened to it like I did and then read through
No,
the
I,
box
I,
score.
I
What's
didn't.
your takeaway? I mean, I know you don't like seeing that many points. 93 points. Northeastern's not the worst team in the world, but 93 points, I don't like to see that. And I think the Dukes the last couple games have been a bit lax on defense, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, Drew went right to that in the post comments from him, and he says, I mean, we got to stop these people. I mean, and uh, so yeah, the last two games basically, well, a continuation basically of Villanova, uh, and we were out rebounded again. And so I don't understand it. I mean, we got Nexus 6'9", we got Hughley 6'10", we've got Dixon 6'9", and we got out rebounded in both those games. So yeah. And we played pretty close to form. Ginyard got his 20 points, 19 in this case. But Hughley contributed also. But Nexus really, didn't have a very good scoring game. So yeah, so you combine, we got killed on the boards again, and I didn't look at the second chance points, but probably that's what did us in probably again.
Austin, you just missed Jakob Netjes coming in. He was a freshman. You were already graduated. We're big fans of his. I noticed, and maybe Nick, you can speak to this. Netjes did make all six of his field goals. I just don't think they're using him appropriately, to be quite honest. I mean, I like that he's playing as a big, but like as we saw in the A10 tournament in 24, like he can shoot, and I think I recall in parts of the broadcast that I had to listen to on the way home against the Loyola Maryland team that played at the Coop. The announcers on the way home, I was listening on ESPN Plus. It was Alice Cannon, Tim Benz, were saying like this guy can shoot more. And I don't know if why he's getting away from that. Is Natchez, and again, he made all six shots against Northeastern. It makes me wonder why
Oh, he
he's
did. I'm sorry. I missed that.
but he's just
I
not.
thought,
Why not shoot more? That's the thing I don't understand. Like
yeah,
he only had he didn't take any threes against Loyola Maryland. He was 3 of 4 from the field, including 1 of 1 from three. And he can shoot threes. So we've seen him do this, like especially in the tournament. Back in 24. So that one confounds me, to be quite honest. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, Nick.
hey, I got a thought about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing is that I think that he defers to others. He's so selfless, even when he's has the open shot, uh, and many times at the top of the key or to the side, from 3-point range. He passes it to somebody else because he thinks that everybody else is a better shooter than him, and he's selfless to a detriment, I believe. I mean, he's got to believe in himself, and that when he's got the open shot from 3-point range, he shouldn't defer. He should take it. But he
yeah,
thinks he doesn't think that I think that he doesn't have confidence in himself from 3-point range, and he thinks that there's better shooters on the team, that he could pass it to, and but he's indispensable, dude. He is the glue, okay, and so and also he's the glue on defense, okay, along with Dixon, because Dixon can come out and as well as Nexus come out and guard the guards, even if they have to, okay, and do it effectively, okay. So yeah, the only thing I got to say is that he defers too much. He's got to trust himself.
this is the game log for Natchez from his freshman season, and late in the season when he started to get a lot more playing time, and he was huge for us down the stretch. You look at his 3-point field goals. If you can, sorry, I'm scrolling so fast here, but it's going to be these two columns here. Late in the season when we really needed him to. Here's a 2 of 3, here's a 1 of 2, and then in the A10 tournament, 2 of 3, 2 of 3, 1 of 2, and he made some really big ones down the stretch for us. And I just think it's part of his game that we need to see more. I'm assuming he was recruited because he was a guy who could do all of that, especially with his length. I mean, those guys are unicorns.
Right.
Nick, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree to an extent that it's partly just Netches's style of play to an extent. He doesn't when he's playing overseas on the European teams, he has shown more of a primary scorer kind of mentality. But I think Zach Weiss actually reported that or talked to on social media about it that Cam Crawford and Netches were kind of called out to be more assertive on
Right.
offense by Drew, and they still didn't really respond all that well to that. I think that was a couple of games ago. Cam then stepped up against Loyola of Maryland, but and then Northeastern, I think Cam went back to about 10 points. So those guys are
Yeah.
really talented, and they continue to kind of stick to the role player sort of role on offense, which I mean, Hughley's going to be the primary scorer, Ginyard's going to be the primary scorer. So there are big guys there on the offensive side, but defensively, I'm worrying that the identity's kind of gone, which is what brought us all this success. And I'm sure Dambrot would be tearing his hair out, seeing the guards especially play defense on our team.
Yeah.
And Hughley is fantastic on offense, but getting back on defense is definitely not a priority of his.
Right.
That's shown. And then I don't know. The guys that are in there are also getting in foul trouble. I mean, Ginyard had four, Dixon fouled out. I think Jimmy Williams had four fouls again. So the fouls have also been a concern. Some of that's, I mean, we're always going to blame officials for some calls here and there. But yeah, I think that's changing a lot, and that might be impacting the rebounding and the defense late in games, which is allowing the easier scores. I mean, if we're going to talk about rebounding, Austin is literally the expert of rebounding. I remember his parents even had custom shirts, Rotroff Glass Cleaning Company, which were fantastic and should have definitely been in the NIL store. Those would have been
Oh,
hot sellers.
oh yeah. You were just born a little bit too early, Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to stretch it out as long as I could. They only gave me 5. I never got a medical red shirt.
I know you
Despite all
just
the injuries, he
I
couldn't
know you
slip one
just
in.
missed it.
Yeah,
You
I know.
just missed all this
Right.
money. Austin, how do you deal with so if you're Hughley and you got all this size, right? And you can see him getting frustrated. So the bit of the game I got to watch in person anyway, against Loyola, Maryland. I'm going to bring up that box score for us again here. And then we got some highlights we're going to go to soon too. But he got frustrated a bunch in that game, I noticed, and he was looking for fouls underneath, and then he was slow to get back on defense to what Nick was saying. But he's looking for, and so he's looking for fouls to be called, and then he comes underneath, and I think he tries to think, well, if they can get away with it, I can. Does that ever happen to you as a player where you're like, well, if they're letting these guys take liberties on me offensively, then on defense, I'm going to try to do that as well and get away with it? And do the referees know that? Are they looking for those sort of retaliatory plays in the paint? What's your experience on that?
I would say definitely that thought process can creep in a little bit because part of it's just you got to get a feel for every game and how each, referee and referee crew calls it because everything's a little bit different. Especially if things start out slow, they want to, get some more fouls and tighten things up a little bit. But I don't think even if you have that thought process, you can let it affect you too much, and get it in your head that I'm going to start hacking, out of retaliation because that usually, doesn't work. And if it does work in the short term, it's not going to last the whole game. You're going to get into trouble with that.
I'm going to bring up some highlights here from a happier game, at least, which is that Loyola Maryland win. The Dukes won that 92-78. That was on the 19th of November. We're recording this on Sunday, November 23rd. So 1-1 for the Dukes since we last touched base. They're now 4-2 overall. Are the Dukes? Not conference play, of course, hasn't started yet. Here's some Loyola highlights. I'm going to play for you guys here. Just a second while I share this via my Zoom. Starting off with Van Dussel in the paint. You don't see him very much actually, getting a lot of minutes, but there was a nice rebound there by Cam and a nice putback. I'd like to see guys. I don't see enough of Van Dussel actually. That's a great take there by our man Ginyard. Ginyard's always going to get his points. I did like the team's offense, passing, the frenetic energy of this game. And there's one of those great Netchis shots.
Yeah,
that first free throw. There we go.
absolutely.
They made the shot, but Dave won the positioning battle there to get a good rebound if it had come off on that blast play.
Double Duke
And then
Cam Crawford. How about that shot?
Cam, you don't usually see inside the paint going for rebounds because he's usually out on the wing. So it's nice to see just kind of
Dixon hammers it
I mean,
down.
rebounding more than anything else is an effort stat. At least that's what I was always told growing up. I think partially because I was shorter than a lot of other kids, so they were trying to tell me not to make that as an excuse. But especially on the offensive boards, I mean, you have to try harder and find that positioning that that'll get there if the shot goes off.
There's Dave again with a big Dave. Frequently throughout this game, he likes to have get the audience, get the crowd into it every time he makes a shot, and he does the pump up the crowd thing. Unfortunately, we're not getting as much of a crowd as they probably deserve.
Cherry on the Sunday.
And that's Tim Benz and Ellis Cannon on that call there. I love to see Dave as engaged as he is underneath and with those putbacks. And I love when they feed Dave underneath. I think the Dukes are. To me, guys. That since the start of the season, Dave's been my starting 5. But then it's hard to argue with the success Hughley's had. But I think Dave Dixon, like Netchis, is like the heartbeat of the team. I think they're at their best when Dave is involved, blocking shots, getting rebounds. He still scored in double digits against Loyola, and he only played 17 minutes. Van Bussel only got 3 minutes, and it's to me, I think that size is the strength is with foul trouble being what it is. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on what you've seen out of Van Bussel so far? I mean, I don't see enough of him to really have anything to judge, but I like what I see once he's in there. And I know that's lesser competition, and maybe he's not the guy we need when it come A10 time. But I don't know if some friendly competition would help with Hughley and Dave to this is another guy we can rotate in there to maybe even help keep him out of foul trouble. And what do you think, Rudy?
Well, I mean, I had my criticism of Van Bussel. He was like a sheep led to slaughter in against Villanova because we were in such foul trouble even at halftime, and so
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah.
we had to put him out there, and he looked out of sorts, dude. I mean, they were, I don't know, but like I said, he's a sophomore, whatever. I mean, he's brand new to the team. He might as well be a freshman because he's coming from overseas. Okay, so I mean, you basically tossed a freshman in there against Villanova. I mean, and I don't think that's a good recipe for a positive outcome. But anyway, yeah, I don't know.
He almost strikes me as like a Savrasov kind of guy who beginning part of the season. I remember from the 2014 team, Andrei Savrasov was getting like all sorts of minutes, and he was mixing in. And then when they got into A10 play, he just didn't find himself in the rotation. But I'd like to be able to use this time to find out more of what that's going to be like. Sorry, Nick, you were saying?
Well, I think Van Bussel's a good big. I mean, he makes smooth plays against more athletic competition. I think is going to be where he struggles, like that Villanova front court. So he can provide good minutes, especially against like Northeastern or teams like that, where it's not going to be crazy athletic bigs that he's going up against, and his touch. I mean, I think one of the highlights in the Loyola Maryland game was an assist from him from the big to a guard. He does have that ability to him, and he does make some kind of smooth cuts to get open going to the basket. So he has shown good things. It's just I don't think he can defend those really athletic bigs if we go up against them. So it's just kind of a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of wondering where now I love the game out of Crawford against Loyola Maryland. When he's shooting hot and he's feeling it, the team obviously generates a lot of momentum that way. Um, what happened to Maximus Edwards? We didn't
The
see
last
him.
game,
We
yeah,
didn't see, he didn't crack the lineup. He only played like a handful of minutes against Loyola.
right, yeah.
So I don't know anything on that. I didn't hear about any injuries or anything. I don't know if he's in the doghouse, but I think they need Max. I think the strength of this team is their depth and their ability to score a bunch of different ways. And we've seen Max when he's on top of his game. Very beneficial to have him
Yeah,
in
he's a
on
good
the lineup.
combo guard. He's turned into a combo guard. I don't know if you've noticed that from last year, in the sense that he contributing a lot more assists now this season as opposed to last season.
Yeah, that's
So he's
fair.
got the ball in his hands, and he's either looking to distribute or or score. But there was some beautiful passes that he's administered. I know for one against the Loyola game that was so beautiful. I mean, tailor made what you call pick and roll for against with Dixon, and so I don't know. Um,
The other guy I want to mention is Dom Akins. Had a great game last week. He had 1 point in the last two games combined. I think 0 for 5 from the field. Um, but if I'm not mistaken, if it was against Villanova, Akins was one of our better players. And it just
yeah.
looked so. I mean, Akins ended up having 9 points, 4 or 5 shooting against in just 7 minutes against Villanova. I don't know if you got where you see Akins maybe working his way into this thing. He is just a freshman. Um, it's to me, I don't understand, how that I'm not a coach, obviously, but maybe I'm going to Austin on this. Austin, I'm sure there's times where because of matchup situations, a guy's going to get more minutes than other times he's not. But if for someone who's not a basketball expert, and I'm just a fan of this program, it's hard for me to see how come when a guy plays so well against a power school like Villanova, we don't get him on the court the next couple of games, or if he misses two or three shots, he's just on the bench the rest of the game. Can you tell us, like, on your experience, like what goes into something like that in those decisions?
I think from at least the perspective of missing shots and then being on the bench, I think that's just like an unfortunate symptom of having a really deep team and being able to go deep at every position, which is what I think they kind of have this year, more depth at every position than last year for sure. We've seen Max Edwards for years, in the league and, with us and what he's capable of. And like you said, also a lot of it does have to do with matchups and also practice. If you have, a surplus of guys with limited minutes to hand out every game, a lot of stock sometimes is taken into consistency in practice and just, rolling with a guy who may be either hot as far as playing well, playing confident, or just being consistent, emotionally. So I think it's, we got a really deep team. We're still trying to figure out the best lineups for sure at this point of the season as well.
I mean, that could be fair. That's kind of what the non-conference portion is all about. He's a small guy. I mean, he's 5'10", a buck 55. He's a guard, still, but it's not, he's pretty slight even for 5'10". Maybe that has something to do with it, based on the way that the game's being played out there on the court. Um, I do want to say that the highlights we're showing, by the way, you can watch these not only on our as built into each episode, but Rudy does the job of cutting these up from Nick Apria and the Duquesne Athletics video team that's been providing us clips. So you can, if you like and subscribe us on here, like our videos and subscribe to our videos, you can see these actually on the same channel you're watching these episodes. And actually, toward the end of this episode, we're going to play some more highlights for you that Rudy clipped together. Um, I want to look at the upcoming schedule for the men, guys. And these are the next couple games I think the Dukes should be able to handle, including a game coming up against a Division II team. That's the next time the Dukes are at home. Maybe that's one of those games where we see the Aikens and the Van Busels and we start to see some more. Maybe Max Edwards returns and you start to get right. Central State, the Dukes will welcome to the Cooper Fieldhouse at 6 p.m. Wednesday, the 26th. Next day's Thanksgiving, so enjoy the holiday, everyone. December 2nd, the Dukes are home against William and Mary at 7 p.m. December 6th, Stony Brook at 2. I mean, to me, they're 3 wins. They're all at home. They're against beatable teams, and if you're looking at 7-2 non-conference, like things could be a lot worse. The Dukes then head out. We've been kind of previewing. This is that trip out west to take on Boise State and Nevada. I think they're also winnable games. All things considered, these are guys in the past. And Austin, you remember these seasons, or maybe when you were being recruited by Duquesne and you looked at their recent history. I mean, gosh, there were times where, Nick, when you were a student, we looked at the Jim Ferry years and we'd say 4-2 non-conference through six isn't, we'd be happy with that. I guess just our expectations went up, when we saw how good this team looked coming into the season, and all the hype we read about it and all the guys we had coming back. But, just to temper everyone's expectations, I mean, this is non-conference time. I think the Dukes are still figuring out who they are, and they're figuring out their rotations. But this is definitely nothing like it used to be 10 or 15 years ago on the Bluff. I think the Dukes are going to win a lot more games than they're going to lose throughout this entire season. And I'm still very excited to see how the team looks, once A10 play comes around. Before I transition over to women's basketball, I wanted to ask if you guys had any other thoughts on what we've seen from the men this week.
I guess I'll ask Austin, from an identity perspective, was that just kind of the coach led, this is how it has to be? Did the team kind of realize it as the season went on as to how they were winning games and what the recipes for success was? How did you form your identity as a team, I guess, over those years?
That's a good question because I know at least from the coaching staff from the top, it was all built on defense. Coach D was incredible at defensive game planning and implementing defensive strategies. And then other than that, we always had a good lead guard who could score and get a bucket whenever we needed one, if we couldn't get into something. And then I think, the rest of the guys, we just kind of filled in and um, figured out our roles, and also, we were communicating with the coaching staff, just a main emphasis on role definition. And I know my 5th year, when we were really trying to turn things around from, losing 24 games, we kind of had a meeting, players only, and the captains with the coaches, talking about, we need to have better role definition. We need guys to know exactly what's asked of them and consistently, and just have, transparency with all of that, so that, guys aren't really confused and, you know, going out there and doing something that's not asked of them. So I think that's kind of where we were, and how we made a lot of growth as a program from, year to year.
And
Can
I
I
think that might
ask
be an issue at
Austin a
play.
question?
Yeah.
Austin, so tell me about uh, 2 years ago and watching the Dukes win the A10 tournament. What were you doing? And of course, we went to the NCAAs and won in the first round. What was your experience? And did you celebrate? I mean, what?
Yeah, I was watching from home, and then when they uh, advanced to the A10 finals, I was like, I gotta go. So I got a plane ticket and went to Brooklyn and saw them win. And then I also, when they won the first game in Omaha, I said I gotta go. So I went to Omaha as well. Um, but yeah, it was a surreal experience. And the week before, I had been in Pittsburgh, I think for senior day, and talking to Jimmy and Day Day and those guys about how they felt about their chances going into the A10 tournament, and they said pretty confidently, yeah, we're about to win. And I said, all right, go get them. And then they won 6 or 5 straight, and yeah, made an incredible run. So I mean, it was just super exciting to see those guys. Everybody bought in, and especially on the defensive end of the floor, even talking to those guys in retrospect, that's what really did it for them, because they had an identity from a scoring perspective, but when they really, really bought in, uh, you know, top to bottom, and every guy focused on guarding and just being a very gritty unit, that's when the success came.
I
Well,
wanted to ask you, Austin, you were one of 3 guys, I want to say, who came back for their last season after the worst year Dambrot ever had as a coach. And then he brought the team back, for 22-23 and turned it around to finish 20-13. I think it was yourself, and you have to help me on, it was the other names, that guys who came back to play that season in 22-23. I know, like Zach Weiss was always big, our buddy from on3.com, Zach, who has been covering the Dukes for a long time. Zach he
yeah.
points to that crew. Was it Trey Williams?
It
Although
was it was yeah,
Right,
Trey
yeah.
Williams and RJ Gunn and Andy
yeah,
Barber and myself. Yeah.
that's right. And Trey was actually hurt for the tournament the next year, although he was still on the
Yeah.
team. Yeah. But it was RJ, yourself, and then you mentioned the other name was
Andy.
yourself and Andy
Andy.
Barba. Yeah, exactly. These guys that
Barbie, yeah.
came back and kept the kind of a core together almost. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Dixon and Ronsky and Barre and stuff, they were kind of young, and Day Day was new to the team that year, and Jimmy was new to the team in 22-23. But like, you were one of those mainstays, holdovers, from some other good Dambrot teams that kind of got like screwed during the COVID seasons and lost a lot of momentum. You had to really get through like change in venue and dealing with all the issues regarding COVID. You guys were playing games all over the place. You know what I mean? You didn't have a place to practice. It was
Yeah.
really rough. And I think you coming back, as well as the other guys you mentioned, kind of, I think, really kept a lot of that glue together on that team. And I think you guys were a big part of helping that team win the whole thing the next year, of establishing what it is to
Yeah.
be a winning team again. So I want to give you your flowers for that. The way I think Zach has always tried to do too. Did you feel like a little more part of it because of that?
Yeah, I think so. And I talk to people about that, the returning group, um, we went 6-24, and to put it honestly, it was miserable. When you're losing 18 in a row, nobody's having fun. Coaches, players, it's not a fun environment to come to work every day. So we had a players only meeting, like I said, I think me, RJ, Andy, Trey, and we're like, Well, at the very least, like we got to have a close team. We got to really prioritize team chemistry and a strong culture uh, from the beginning, because at the very least, I want to enjoy, coming to practice every day and playing. And then the rest, would follow. So that's what we really tried to implement. We had that meeting in the spring of 2022. And, once, we came for the summer semester, we really tried to hit the ground running with that. Like we're trying to, get everybody together, include everybody, invite everybody if we're going out to eat, if we're going, to show the new guys around the city, something like that. And, even if somebody can't go. We're just trying to break down the barriers so there's like no clicks on the team, that everybody feels, comfortable with everybody else. Obviously, we're a group of, adults, so you don't always have to be best friends, but at least letting the guys know that you're putting the effort in. And, I think that paid off big time because we were all very good friends. I went back to a game last year and talked to Matus and Kareem and Dave, and when I talked to those guys, they still say that was the most fun year ever. That was a great team. We'll never have a group of guys like that. And from that year, we still have our team group chat that we're pretty active in. Um, you know, Almost every day, someone says something in the group chat, sends a funny video.
Oh,
So we do a good job of keeping up with each other from that team, and especially I try to uh, keep in touch with all my friends who are overseas now and still in college as well. So and just building a lasting relationship, that's what's really special about uh, going through things with people in general, is those memories you make. The wins and losses, kind of fade, but uh, I have friends for life and that I'll always want to keep up with and, talk to all the time, which is really what it's all about. So,
Yeah, that's great stuff. And yeah, I guess and Andy and Trey got a ring out of it. I want to give them, they were on that team
yeah.
in 24 as well. And yeah, but you guys really did keep that team together through a lot of tough times. And so I think that culture obviously what carried on. Guys like Kareem Rozier, what a great teammate. Everyone said he was. He went into a role for the team in the tournament in 24, and more so than when he was a starter. And he just accepted it, as a big part of the team. And it was all team first. I think everybody who loved that 24 team, guys like me who have the banner sitting behind me here, up in my living room. I mean, guys, that was just such a team by the purest definition of the word. So, yeah, great memories. Thanks for sharing those. Guys, I want to turn our attention then to the women's basketball side. Not a great week for the women, although just the one game, the women, but they
yeah.
lost to Robert Morris. And so, we never like to lose to Bobby Moe. Like I said, the football team beat Bobby Moe yesterday. That was kind of fun, especially because Robert Morris had their 2000 undefeated football team there, and they were kind of actually taunting the Duquesne bench at times, and then our bench was giving it back to the alumni who were there as a 25th reunion of their undefeated team. And so it was really fun to win a game at their place, at their nice stadium. So you never want to lose to Robert Morris. The thing that's most disconcerting to me is, I know the game was at Bobby Moe, but you lose this game. Robert Morris, not a bad team. I mean, that made them 4-0. Their only loss, Robert Morris, came against Pitt yesterday. But Pitt had lost to a Division III team, Scranton, the Royals, not long before that. If you go by transitive property, the Royals beat Pitt, Pitt beat RMU, and RMU beat Duquesne. So there's Scranton at the top of the heap, and that's not good company you want to keep. No disrespect to them. I used to work in the Landmark Conference, but yeah, I wasn't crazy about the loss. The Dukes, as you can see, by the box score here, it's not like they were blown out 64-62. Very winnable game. It's just one game, but when it's a local game, when it's the county game, you hate losing those ones. Nick, I mean, you as a member of that program, as a practice player, I know the Pitt and RMU games mean more, right?
Yeah, definitely. Pitt game especially. Bobby Moe. I mean, I honestly think Robert Morris is a better team than Pitt
They
this
are.
year.
I think so too.
So I kind of knew this was going to be their toughest non-con game. We couldn't make a three, and we didn't defend the three well. I mean, it was a very close game because we dominated the paint. I mean, we keep throwing these girls that I mean, we have a lot of size. They're all good at scoring. They're all good at getting rebounds, which is great. But the issue, as described, I think it was after the West Liberty game, they said that the defensive identity was everybody pack into the paint and then extend out to cover your assignments. And I don't know if that continued, but there was a lot of open 3-point shooters, especially number 34 or 32 on Robert Morris. I think she had 20 points. And yeah, Noah
32.
Given.
Mhm.
Whenever she had the ball in her hands and had an open look, I just couldn't believe it because it just kept happening, and they're just, I don't know. But then the last couple of plays as well just didn't seem to go our way. The play call ended up being a Grantham Medley mid-range shot to try and tie the game, and then missed, and then the foul game kind of, there wasn't enough time left for us to pull off any sort of comeback at that point. So it was a competitive game. It was a good game. Any person that went and watched, and I think it was a record attendance for RMU women's basketball, it got a great local game. And Coach Eddie, who was an assistant coach back when I was at Duquesne as a practice player, is over at Robert Morris now. I know he had the scouting assignment, and I saw him fired up. I know this game mattered a lot to him, so congrats to him. But next time we'll get him back.
1,255 people came out to see it. It's a good day for women's basketball. You want to get the win, but I'm glad they're playing them. And I think it's a shame that the men don't play RMU, nor do they play Pitt anymore. I mean, Austin, I'm trying to remember if you'd have been on campus the last time, if you'd have been on a team that even played Pitt, you have to jog my memory.
Oh, I did. I played Pitt my freshman year at PPG.
Okay.
All right, that was the last year.
That was last year, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I'm sure that you guys would have loved to have played that game every year.
Yeah, we wanted to. We
Now you
definitely.
didn't get and the Robert Morris game stopped as well. And full credit to Robert Morris. And Maddie McConnell was eating us alive, and we had trouble winning those games. But like I think you still have to play them. I think it's just good for local hoops here. I know you're not from here originally, Austin, but I'm sure you got that vibe. When the city games or local games are being played, that there was just more at stake.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that all the athletic departments just have to work out. Honestly, they should really try to prioritize it for sure.
It's frustrating. Well, here's another local game. Again, I mentioned the football team, 20-17. It was a really fun, entertaining game. Unfortunately, the Dukes got the news about halfway through the game that Central Connecticut State held on to defeat the Mercyhurst Lakers. So the Dukes ended up playing for nothing more than pride and to secure a winning record, and of course to beat a local team. And you love beating Bobby Moe, especially with one of their best all-time teams sitting basically in the end zone drinking beer all game, and seeing them get rowdy and then having to send them off, kind of sad. So it was fun. Matt Clark was the hero. He wears number 67. Duquesne marketing finally embraced that. He's like, I've gifts of him doing this the whole time. Rudy, we'll explain to you later what this is. But you've probably heard it by now. But my students can't stop saying it. So he wears number 67. Made a
67.
made a couple great kicks. It was very exciting. It's a shame. I was watching Tim Benz, who called the game on the radio with Alex Panormius. He came in and said, it's frustrating because we're watching that Mercyhurst game. You needed Mercyhurst to beat Central at Central to give the Duquesne team a chance. That game kicked off 2 hours before ours did. And so we got to see it in the box. We're watching it. And as Tim said, the Lakers probably should have won. They had a couple chances in the end zone, just didn't see wide open guys or just didn't look enough. The quarterback was tunnel vision on a receiver, and they were able to cover it pretty easily. So they couldn't pull it off. Central wins the Northeast Conference despite losing to Duquesne for its only loss this season. But the Dukes, have only themselves to blame. Back-to-back losses at LIU and at Wagner, two teams that didn't have great seasons. The Dukes are better than those teams, I think, and that's what cost them. So even though Duquesne Central was a great game last week and the Dukes won at Rooney Field, it was set up perfectly for you. They still needed help in the final week and didn't get it. So now the Dukes are looking at an offseason where they got to replace their quarterback again. We'll keep an eye on that on All Duke Sports Talk, even now that we turn our attention more to football. And more to basketball with this winter stretch coming up. But we'll always have an eye toward football. And kudos to those guys for still rebounding and finishing with a good season, 5-2 in the conference and 7-5 overall. The Dukes don't have many losing seasons, and so kudos to them for having another winning season. Oh, I want to point out, by the way, before we move on entirely from women's basketball, when the next women's game is. Kind of lost my, I was kind of closed out of that, but the Duquesne women will, oh, this is the men's thing. I'm sorry, guys, if you'll bear with me. If I'm not mistaken, the women return home. And so the next game will be at the Cooper Fieldhouse. It's against Kent State at 6 p.m. on Monday, the 24th, before the team takes off for Thanksgiving. And then the Dukes will go to the Navy Classic and play 2 games in Annapolis against Liberty at 3:30 p.m. on November 29th, and then at Navy on the 30th. So those ought to be fun and a decent test. Those are 2 good programs. Kent State is, again, the next game, November 24th at 6 at the Coop. Some news about women's volleyball, guys, before we finish up everything today. Women's volleyball had a chance to move to the Atlantic 10 championship match. They were up 2-0 over Loyola Chicago in the Atlantic 10 women's volleyball playoffs. You can see here the Dukes exacted some revenge by beating George Washington 3-1 in the quarterfinals. And then in the semis, had the Dukes beaten Loyola Chicago, they would not have had to face Dayton. So, Nick, Dayton was upset and I'm going to show you the bracket here. Dayton got upset surprisingly by VCU. Dayton had been 18-0 in the conference that's so far this season and lost to number 4 VCU, the host team. And so VCU got to play Loyola Chicago in the final, and Loyola Chicago ended up as the champs, which is sour grapes for Duquesne because the Dukes were up 2-0 and got reverse swept and lost 3-2 against Loyola Chicago, which ended up winning the whole thing. So it could have been a magical run, but I want to give Coach Opperman and his team their kudos for a good season. It's hard to qualify for the playoffs when only 6 teams get in the whole conference, and to make it to the semifinals is a good deal. And again, they lost only to the eventual champs, a team they led 2-0. One player I want to point out in particular, guys, if you'll bear with me here, and yes, I am playing a little bit of favoritism because she's a student of mine, but this is one of the few ladies on campus I have to look up at. And so when I don't see her in the match, I'm surprised. But Kylie Griffin started to get in some more matches toward the end of the season. Kylie is 6'3". She transferred here from Cal State Fullerton. She hadn't played much, and then I saw, yeah, there you go, out your way, bud. And I noticed toward the end of the season she was playing more, and then in the tournament she got a lot of reps and she was getting a ton of kills. And so they may have discovered something in Kylie, who I think has a good shot of being a starter next year. So shout out to Kylie, and also to Emerson Schramm, who had a great season. Emerson ended up making the Atlantic 10 all-tournament team. She's a all-conference player for the Dukes, and hopefully she'll be back next year. She's only a sophomore. So a good season for the Dukes women's basketball team. And then one final shout-out, guys, if you'll bear with me. And once again, it's our man Zach Weiss, right, who celebrated his 1,000 career events covered at Duquesne. And to celebrate it, Dan Burt, had him do a little MC Hammer dance with the team. So I had to share this with everybody. There we go. He's everything you'd want him to be. So yeah, kudos to Zach Weiss for his 1,000 career Duquesne events covered. I know we teased it, but Dan Burt had a cake and celebrated with him and the team and everything. Austin, you've had plenty of run-ins with Zach, right? I mean, he's definitely the reporter of record for Duquesne.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
He sends his best, by the way. He asked me yesterday who we're going to interview this week, and I mentioned yourself. So I know Zach's watching. And I know a lot of people watch Scott Langenfeld, who's was public address for years for Duquesne football and basketball. And Scott did the Duquesne Robert Morris football game yesterday for Ryan Gavatorta. So Scott sends his best, Austin. He's a big fan. Scott, shout out. He'll be watching tonight. Guys, I want to show some more highlights. This again, you can absolutely watch these on our YouTube channel. Rudy puts a lot of time into this, and so we don't just have our show, but we have Duquesne basketball highlights we can share with you. So I'm going to let these play as well. And Rudy, while I let these play, do you mind if we send out any final thoughts while they play? I don't think we don't have any commentary.
No.
These,
right? I don't want you to play them on the show. I'm going to play them, play it at the very end. Okay.
Oh, well, there you go. I got you. Well, there's a tease for you folks then. So whenever we do our final call out here, you get to see some highlights that we chopped together. And again, thank you to Nick Apria and Duquesne Athletics for providing these to us as media.
Yeah. Lewandowski too.
All right. Thank you.
A young lady. I believe it's a young lady.
So
Chan, there's three people: Chang, Lewandowski, and Aprea. So major shout out to those three.
Yeah, thank you to the Duquesne Athletics Department for providing us clips to show. We do appreciate that. Guys, I want to ask you for any kind of final thoughts on all things Duquesne Athletics. I do want to push you toward the men's hoops team if you can, but anything's fair game. Starting with Nick.
Yeah, I think Jake is going to have a lot of responsibility when he does return. I know it's
To Michael.
yeah, a lot of people are looking forward to him, and hopefully he brings that defensive mentality back from the guards mindset. I did want to go through the volleyball one more time. The four teams that have won the A10, either regular season or in the tournament since 2010, have been Dayton, VCU, Loyola, Chicago, and Duquesne. So we are a top four volleyball school in the A10 by that statistic.
That's correct, as we were this year. Rudy.
Dude, what do you want me to say?
Well, I mean, I think if you have anything final you want to drop in about any last
no,
take.
no. I just want to thank Austin for showing up and allowing us to grill him a little bit about his experiences at Duquesne. And no, dude, onward and upward, and check in for the highlights at the end that I have of the also the Loyola game. By the way, I'm not going to be able to do the highlights for away games, obviously, and I didn't obviously have highlights for the Akron game. So just to let you know, okay? Yeah, that's
Austin,
all I gotta say, dude.
Yeah, perfect. Austin, I want to thank you again for joining us. We're all big fans of you, and kudos on a great career. And you're doing what's best for you. Obviously, with the knee trouble, I know you said you're not having surgery because you're not playing anymore, but I know you'll be happy to not walk crooked one day, and that's kind of the
Yeah,
idea, right?
absolutely. Yeah, I did have some early onset arthritis show up in the MRI, so I was like, yeah, I don't need to be running and jumping too much anymore.
Is coaching in your future, perhaps, bud?
I don't think professional coaching. I like, I always say I don't really want to coach a higher level than junior varsity basketball because even, varsity basketball comes with, expectations. Kids are older, parents. I've done a lot of training and coaching younger kids, elementary and middle school. When I was in Ireland, I was coaching, 10 to 12 4 or 5 days a week. So I kind of like coaching in that respect, helping younger kids develop their love for the game. So I think in the future, in my free time, I would definitely do some coaching like that, but not professionally, no.
Well, please do get back to campus. You know what I mean, and let us know when you're going to be there. I know later this season, Bill Clark is going to come back finally to campus. We're trying to get Kieran back. It's everyone loves seeing the old Dukes come back to campus. So the fond memories of watching all you guys play. Men's basketball, right, for better or for worse. I mean, people think of Duquesne. One of the first things they think about is men's basketball, and you were one of the guys that got us back to being something to be very proud of on campus. So we want to thank you for a lot of things. So my final thoughts, guys. I love Nick. I wasn't even thinking about DeMichael. I'm glad you brought him up. The game I did attend against Loyola, I came down after night class and watched about a half the game. There were fans next to me yelling, "Put Jake in," because he was dressed for the game. And I saw Jake the next day in class because he's one of my students as well. Actually, Austin, I think you had me in in for class at least once.
At least
Yeah.
once, yeah, maybe
And
twice.
I had Jake. So Jake's in the same boat as you. I get him every now and then. And I asked Jake, I said, "You were dressed?" He goes, "Yeah, I think cautionary. They're not putting me in just yet." But the fans do want to see DeMichael. And that same group of fans, I didn't know who these guys were, but when there was a collision near Zach Weiss on the court, one of the guys said, "If someone hurts Zach Weiss, we're gonna fight." So, there's definitely a Dukes Nation. We all know each other. I mean, it's like there's certain people who are celebrities around Dukes basketball. So he's definitely one of them. And Jake DeMichael, when he comes back on the court, he's one of those guys I might just stand up and applaud as soon as he comes back out there. Talk about fan favorites. So we're not a full team yet. So we'll see what happens when DeMichael takes the floor. Huge, huge part of the 24 championship team. He redshirted last year with the injury. He's not going to need a redshirt this year if we get him back soon. And so, yeah, we'll see. I'm still heavily encouraged. Keep the faith, Dukes Nation. I think you have a good basketball team still. I'm very excited about the program, and when it goes well, like it did for parts against Loyola Chicago, it's a beautiful product to watch. So get down to the coop and check them out. they should take care of business in the next 3 home games. So it's a fun time if you have time during Thanksgiving and Christmas break to go see those guys and support them because the students are on break. Well, that's it, guys. Unless you have anything else, we're going to call it here. Stick around for highlights from Loyola Chicago, courtesy of Rudy Longarini, and we'll see you next time on All Duke Sports Talk. Shoo, shoo, guys. Rah, rah. Let's go, Duquesne.
Let's go, Dukes.
Let's go, Dukes.
Dukes.
It's not arrogance or pride, it's just confidence. All the